Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler. Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
The same self, the only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. I'm Ken, and I'm joined by the man that your coach is not a part of this. As we look at the 9 head coaching openings, Austin, and which one is the best one?
Yeah, we're not going through all the potential openings just yet. We will do that shortly. But in this video, we're going to be talking about what job would you want to take? You're a prospective coach. You're a guy that is being interviewed by all 9 jobs. And you have the final say. Who do you want to be the coach of? Kevin, what is your criteria for your team?
So, yeah, looking at it, who would you rather be the coach of? I think there are different ways to do it. I think if you're a head coach in the NFL, you have to have quick success. And even with a lot of these teams are rebuilding teams, and I think one thing you have to look at is an established quarterback. And now you can get through that by just drafting one your first year or inheriting a young quarterback like you had Ben Johnson do with the Bears. But to me, what I'm looking at is job security. It would be great to turn around the team, but it doesn't seem like a lot of teams are giving coaches that option. Jonathan Gannon inherited a team that was wanting to rebuild, and he was fired after 3 seasons. Same thing with Pete Carroll. It was kind of like, this is a rebuilding job. Let's try to make it work. It didn't work for 1 year, and Pete Carroll ended up getting fired. So that's where I kind of look at some of those jobs. So I'm looking at security in the NFL and success.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. I think, though, that there's 2 ways to look at security really quickly, because I do think that's very important. There's obviously how often do they fire their head coaches that they've had previously, but also how much do they want to succeed soon? If I don't win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years, am I still the head coach? As long as I've done a lot of other jobs, checked a lot of other boxes. And for a team like the Ravens, for example, I don't think you're the head coach if you haven't won a Super Bowl in the next 5 years, because you have Lamar. So there's also the security of the players you already have on your roster. I think there's an important thing for me is you have to have a dominant young core somewhere on the team for me to want to go there. Whether that's a dominant just running back room or a dominant D-line or a dominant something I want to take over. This may sound surprising, but I'll go first. I think what I would want to do is take over the Titans. I think the Titans have both the ability that they've had long tenured head coaches. Vrabel was there for a while, and we know that he was fired, and that wasn't necessarily the best choice. But he was still there for a fair amount of time. So there is some history for coaches staying there for a long time. But also, I like Cam Ward. I thought he played very well this year in a very bad situation. But the dominant position group is their D-line. Jeffrey Simmons was all-pro. They had Devondre Sweat. They have another couple good guys on the D-line that they're continuing to build. And you and I, more than most people out there, have talked about how important the trenches are. And while their O-line is very bad, and I think in the draft you have to hammer O-line picks. I think first pick for the Titans should be a lone lineman. But you have a good D-line. You have a solid defense. You still have to add some pieces here and there in defense. But if you haven't won a Super Bowl in 5 years, I still think you're the head coach. I think Cam Ward will continue to progress because he got better throughout the season. You have decent wide receivers. Jameer DK was a Pro Bowl returner. Elliott Shire was a good player this past year. And that's without guys that left, either Tyler Lockett or got hurt in the case of Calvin Ridley. But I think the Titans is the job I would take. You mentioned like the young QB inherited. That reminds me of Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward is the young QB inherited for a good offensive-minded head coach that's going to add offensive line help in the offseason.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point in a young core, which is why a rebuilding team would be exciting because you can build that core. However, it is that timing of it. So for me, I think one way that I could build that young core while have recent or quick success to me is why I would choose the Ravens job. Yes, you mentioned 5 years. I have to win the Super Bowl. To me, I would feel safe in going, I've competed for a Super Bowl because all you have to do is get Lamar Jackson right and that offense going.
Yeah, but
immediately.
Again, the pressure, you're taking the highest pressure job. I mean, immediate success. If you start a season in the next couple seasons, 4-6, you don't have the tenure that Harbaugh does. If you go through the same struggles that a very good head coach previously had gone through, you're not going to be given the same benefit of the doubt to continue the rest of the season. If I start 4-6 of the season with the Titans, well, he's still growing. The team's still growing. He's a young QB, and they still have potential because last year they didn't even win 4 games. But if you do that this year or this upcoming year with the Ravens, serious questions are being asked immediately. And I do think there's serious concern about the stuff you have to add to the Ravens because you do have, there's O-line questions, especially with their right guard. There's also questions regarding their wide receiver room and whether QBs and wide receivers really want to go there. And there's also their defense has been consistently injured recently as well. I would probably stay away from the Ravens job if I could because I think that's a job that inherits more risk than prospective, like known reward that you can produce because you don't know how Lamar's going to be in the room. And Lamar is what he is. You're not going to get Lamar to be better. Lamar is great, right? But he's not going to be grown into a better player over his career, especially because his athletic prime is right now. Like, he's not going to get any faster. He's not going to get any stronger. But with Cam Ward or one of the younger QBs, if you're going to draft a guy, I think you have more control over your destiny and kind of shaping how your QB will be in those big situations. I like the Ravens job in the sense that, yes, you can have success. But with that potential success is an expectation that I think is higher than it should be, especially in an AFC conference that has a lot of very good QBs.
Yeah, you make a great point. Yes, there's risk to that. And you said Lamar is what he is. To me, that is what excites me about it is it can be very difficult to hit on a quarterback. In some years, if it doesn't work, that's going to place your job in more risk because the quarterback does drive your football team. That is why, to me, I would take the Ravens job because how many times are you going to get a quarterback like Lamar Jackson? That's already great. And it's just, you have to figure out part of the problem. And he can mask a lot of the problems with that team. And you can fix that through the draft and hitting on your picks.
I don't think that it's as easy as you think drafting later in the first round to hit on your picks. It's by having a later draft pick, it makes it to where it's a little bit more risky to guarantee yourself a good player at whatever position you want to add. Sure, in the first round, you're still getting a good guy, but as you go later in the draft, adding a guy first pick in the first round and first pick in the second round is a lot different than adding a guy in the 20th pick in the first round and the 20th pick in the second round.
Yes, you do have a wider variety of better players to choose from when you're at the top. But to me, there's a solid base for the Ravens. It's just you have to hit on, okay, this is what we need. I think there are some shifts that you can do with that offense that would make your team better.
True, but again, I can miss a couple picks with the Titans and be okay. A missed first-round pick for you is almost a death sentence.
Yes, but I think I would have about 3 years to finally figure it out and be like, okay, now we're competing. because I don't think you would have such a rough start with the Ravens.
But they did this year.
They did. But I think you can look at it, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring a new idea to it, and that will get some buy-in quickly to it.
Okay. I usually I'm the risky guy, but you're taking by far the riskiest job.
Yeah, there are risks, but given just how well set up it is with Lamar Jackson, I think is one of the reasons why it is such a high-risk job.
Well, if it was extremely well set up, then they wouldn't have had to fire Harbaugh in the first place.
Well, I think they fired Harbaugh because he's been there so long and it has been stagnant on success. So I think they wanted a new voice, and that's where I think you can really excel with the new voice, especially if it's an offensive mind.
That could be true. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of intrinsic problems that are a little bit harder to find than what's on the surface.
Yeah, and there may be some problems, but I think having that top quarterback in the NFL solves a lot of the problems and helps you get through most of the season.
I mean, we've seen a lot of very high-end QBs in their careers not win Super Bowls, whether it's Cam Newton, who won MVP, Matt Ryan, who won MVP. There's a lot of MVP winning quarterbacks, especially in recent eras, that have not been able to get over the hump. And again, that prime is only so short. So, especially in a physical league like the NFL. And I do think that the price, again, must match the reward, which it obviously can. It's just your pressure of turning it around is the highest of any of the 9 openings.
Yep. And let us know your thoughts in the comments, which one you would rather choose. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.